do a a live podcast tonight, so this could be awesome or a disaster. Hopefully awesome. All right. All right, what's happening, everyone? Welcome back to another action-packed edition of CPA Reviewed, the official podcast of Another71.com. Happy Thursday to you. My name is Jeff Elliott. I am a licensed CPA in the state of Kansas, much to the chagrin of many. Happy Thursday to you. Today is Thursday, August 13th, 2015. On tonight's show, we're boldly going where no CPA has gone before. We are live on Periscope, and so that could be something. So we're going to do the podcast as normal. If you are listening to the podcast, and as I answer questions or comments on Periscope, if you don't have Periscope, you can go to whatever the Android App Store, the Android App Store, or iTunes, and download Periscope, and then you can join in on the fun and ask me a question or send me a comment that you love the site or hate the site or hate my beard, whatever it may be. So, all right, so how this is going to go down is I'm going to do the podcast as normal and answering questions that come in through askjeff@another71.com. If you want to ask me a question, you can go to another71.com, click in the upper right-hand corner, click Ask Jeff, and it will appear in a future edition of the podcast. And if you want to ask me a question on Periscope, I will attempt to do two things at once. So if you're on Periscope and have a question, fire it up, or if you want to say hey, you can do that too. All right, so some news. The next score release is Tuesday, August 25th, which is actually late Monday night on the 24th. Exam scores typically come out at 1 a.m. Eastern on the target date. So the target date is the 25th, so that means, so it means that they come out about midnight Central. So, and then the next score release will be on September 10th. If you want to get notified about when I do these random things, you can follow me on Twitter. I have, I don't check this very often, I have 11,000 followers on Twitter. That's something. Hey Jeff, I'm waiting on my FAR score on the 25th, made a 72 last go around. So you have, I guess, 12 days to wait. So that's always a good time. Are you going to keep studying for your next exam, or are you just going to wait? And the awkward thing about Periscope is that people can't respond via voice. So anyway, you follow me on Twitter, you can get notified. I think that's how people are, it shows up in their timeline. Just started back on the FAR, multiple choice questions, just to be safe. If that's your last exam, that's a good plan. Okay, first question. David writes in, I've taken auditing 3 times and I've scored a 68, a 70, and a 70. I'm studying with Becker and Ninja MCQ. What do you suggest I try to do to get those last 5 points? Well, a 68, a 70, and a 70 means that there are a few conceptual holes in your game. So you are weak on at least 1 or 2 topics. And so what a lot of people do is they think that they need to just cram over whatever their weak area is when they get their score notification deal back. And you should not do that. You should go back and do everything that you did to get the 70, and then do something else. So more Ninja MCQ or whatever it may be, but don't cut any corners, and make sure that you get that trending score up to at least in the low to mid 80s. So before you go in and take your exam. So the biggest takeaway there is with a 68, a 70, and a 70, you have to do something drastically different from what you've been doing. And my guess is that you haven't been doing as many of the multiple choice as you should. If you're on Periscope and want to jump in, for those of you that have joined since I started the podcast, feel free to ask me a question, or if I'm answering a question, a pre-submitted question, and I don't see your question, please ask it again. So, Crystal writes in, I'm taking BEC next Friday, and I've already passed FAR, and I missed auditing by 1 point. I haven't studied as much as I planned. I'm now running out of time. Do you think I can be prepared by just doing your multiple choice questions rather than going back to the review course? Currently training at 65% and almost through the assessment phase, and took all next week off from work. You're training 65% and you're still through the assessment phase, which means that you've done less than 35% of the questions. I would keep powering through and do as many multiple choice questions between now and your exam. I would hate life. I would hate the Ninja software, because you're spending so much time on the Ninja software that you never want to see another Ninja again. So that's what I would do between now and next Friday for BEC. Pamela says, what's the best way to study using my CPAExcel program and the Ninja 10-point combo? Is 15 hours per week for 8 to 9 weeks too long to study for FAR? Okay, first of all, 8 to 9 weeks is, 8 weeks is the max. I would study 7 to 8 weeks for FAR, and I would try to get that up to 20 hours per week. So 15 hours per week might be a little bit light. I try to get that up to 20 hours per week and about 8 weeks for FAR. And how to use your CPAExcel. Of course, I'm assuming that you have videos, so how do you use those in conjunction with the 10-point combo? Well, I would follow the Ninja framework. I would get through all of your videos first. I would take good notes. And if you don't want to use your videos and you want to read the Ninja book instead, that's a good plan. Or if you want to skip the Ninja book and just use your CPAExcel videos, that's fine too. Follow the Ninja framework, so get through all of the content first. Take good notes, and then I would jump into Ninja MCQ, and I would do Ninja MCQ exclusively. I just think it's better software. And so the NINJ, nail the content, intense notes. Now you're into nonstop multiple choice questions, and so then you have to get through your assessment phase and the adaptive learning phase. And I would take notes over the questions that you're missing. And since you have the 10-point combo, you have the Ninja notes. I would either print out the Ninja notes or load them on like your tablet or your phone. They work great on both, and I would take them with you everywhere you go. So a doctor's office, have them next to you at work, just literally take them everywhere. And instead of you have 3 minutes to kill, so you hop on Facebook or whatever to see your friends' back to school pictures of their kids. I have a few kids myself, so I might be guilty of such things. But your time is better spent cranking out a few bullet points in the Ninja notes through your morning commute or whatever it may be. Even sitting there at lunch or while you're working, cranking through spreadsheets. You have the Ninja audio. I would listen to the Ninja audio. I would use the Ninja flashcards on your phone. So that's how I would incorporate those two together. So basically, get through your content and then use the supplementary materials as much as possible. On Periscope, what's the best way to prepare for the regulation sims? I got it 73 3 times because weaker in sims. I'm not a huge fan of working a lot of sims because in theory, you can practice 15 sims and get none of the topics on your exam. I know not everyone agrees with that sentiment, and I've always said that if you understand the concepts, then you should know them then you should do well on the sims, because the sims are just an application of the concepts. But like for regulation in particular, I would make sure that you go through and know the different types of tax forms. So both corporate, partnership, individual, and M1, M2, M3. Make sure that you know how to do those. You can go back through and if you have the Ninja software, I'm not sure if you do or not, but whatever software you use, I would do about 90% multiple choice and 10% sims. I would not do like a ton of sims, because I think your time is better spent on the multiple choice. Is that helpful? See, the cool thing about Periscope is you can tell me if that answer was helpful or if it was just meh. Yes, very helpful. Thank you. You're very kind. Mavery says, what's the most effective way to tackle the reg exam for... Hey, I get a thumbs up. Thank you. What's the most effective way to tackle the reg exam 4 to 5 weeks out? Well, I recommend 7 to 8 weeks for regulation, so 4 to 5 weeks out, assuming that you are kind of starting to halfway through your study plan. Just follow the Ninja framework. That's a pretty basic answer, but that's what I would do. Follow the Ninja framework. Nail the content, intense notes, non-stop multiple choice questions. Just rewrite your notes. Spend the final 2 weeks. Spend the final 2 weeks out. Rewrite your notes. 1 week out. Work your multiple choice questions. If you have 4 to 5 weeks and you're cramming, then you have a tightened timetable. And so instead of 20 hours a week, maybe you're studying 25 hours a week, but the methodology is still the same. And if you run into a crunch, the Hail Mary for the CPA exam is multiple choice questions. How are we doing on Periscope? Everyone doing all right? Greg writes in, a concern of mine is I have now moved my regulation exam to Q3. I was somewhat nervous when reg will be testing the 2015 tax law changes, as most of my study materials are still covering 2014. I know there are or were changes made at the end of 2014, but I know most won't go into effect or be tested on the CPA exam until 6 months after their effective date, which I don't think has happened yet. I could be wrong. By the way, Ninja has definitely helped as a weapon during this journey. I have to get the marketing plug in. I've doubled up on my reviews. Well, the effective date for 2015 tax law is January 1st, and so it became testable on the CPA exam on June 1st, which is obviously a dead month. And so beginning this last July and through the end of the year and through May exams of 2016, it will only be 2015 tax law. So any retroactive changes that Congress had made, like to 2014 tax law, is irrelevant for the CPA exam. So it's 2015 exam law or tax law from here on out. Kevin writes in, how do you overcome losing credit for a test and stay motivated to continue on? I found myself in that same situation. I scored back-to-back 74s on regulation, and I lost my FAR credit. I thought it was the end of the world. I was so excited about passing FAR that I partied for a good year, and then got my butt in gear and ended up losing my exam credit. And I thought it was the end of the world. It wasn't. I hated life for a while. I got over my pity party. So how do you stay motivated when you lose a credit? It's so hard to pass a section of the CPA exam. It's definitely hard to pass FAR. FAR is the most daunting exam for a lot of people, for most people. And so for me to lose my FAR credit, it just plain sucked. And so you just have to decide that you're not going to let the AICPA beat you, and that's kind of like a mental game. It's if you don't actually have an adversary, you need to create one in your head. So you need to whatever you need to do. If you need to decide that the AICPA is trying to keep you down and not let you pass. So question on Periscope: how did you finally pass reg after 274s? Well, on regulation, there were about 3 areas that I flat out refused to study because I hated them. It was AMT, like kind exchanges, and 1231, 1245, and 1250 assets. I was studying. I was like, forget this. It's extremely boring. I would rather be waterboarded and study those. And so crazy thing happened. I decided to go back through again, restudy everything, and then really hit those 3 areas really hard, and then I scored a 92. So, and that question was on Periscope. And so, and I do that for the benefit of people who are just listening, just on the audio version, which you can download the CPA Review podcast on iTunes. So how do you overcome it and stay motivated? You have to create an adversary, create an enemy, decide that you're going to beat them. It's like Rocky put his newspaper clippings on his mirror in Apollo Creed, and after he had gone through his training regimen and was all rockied out, he grabbed it and crumpled it up, and he was ready. That's what decide that you're not going to let the AICPA beat you, or whatever you need to do to get. It takes something to get up at 5:30 in the morning when you'd rather be doing anything but that. Well, probably sleeping. Augustine says, hey Jeff, I've been studying for BEC for about 5 weeks now, and I haven't gotten a score higher than 65 on my MCQ and Sims using Becker and Ninja. What are your recommendations for the last week of studying? Keep in mind I work full time. It's time to go full bore MCQ, just crank it, and do it like your life depends on it. You have to get that 65 trending up to like low 80s, low to mid 80s. Luke says, I passed reg, auditing, BEC, and I failed FAR twice with a 71 and a 69. So passed 3, failed FAR twice. I'm taking FAR next Friday. I have next week off from work, and I'm going to focus 100% on FAR. My question to you is, I have 1 full week left with Becker and Ninja study materials to study FAR and pass it. So a week out, there's really no time for rewriting notes or anything like that. So whatever notes you have, just keep reviewing them. And so 1 week out from your exam, what do? You use your multiple choice platform of choice. Hey Jeff, got Becker, started reg on. I'm kind of like bipolar here because I'm answering questions and I'm answering questions on Periscope, but see, on Periscope I have to read it real fast because it disappears, and so hold on one second. If I don't get back to your question on Periscope, hit me again. So whatever multiple choice question platform you're using, start with your weakest area first. So you're taking FAR. Let's say your weakest area is not-for-profit accounting and governmental accounting. That's 20% of your FAR exam. You absolutely hate not-for-profit accounting, and you took it once in college and you don't remember anything about it. And you took governmental accounting, but you don't remember anything about it, and you don't even remember what an encumbrance is. So you start in your weakest area first and work backwards. So your weakest 2 areas are your weakest area is governmental accounting, and you do a set of 20 multiple choice questions. you do a set of 20 multiple choice questions, and you keep repeating those. You do mini testlets of 20 questions, and do that until you are scoring about a 75. That's an arbitrary number, but really you do that until you score about a 75%, and then move on to your next weakest area and do, it might take you 3 sets of 20 multiple choice questions. It might take you 60 questions to get up to 75% on that third mini test split, and then keep going down the line. Your next weakest is pensions, and then inventory, and then investments, whatever it is. And so that's how you do your final week. And all the time, you're still, every time you drive, you're listening to your audio, if you have the audio, or you're reading your notes or whatever. So I'm going to take a water break, and I know I missed a few questions on Periscope. Then another question that Luke had was, how do you stay motivated? Your final week, well, the final week before an exam, life is going to be terrible, and you're going to hate it. The temptation will be to take your foot off the gas and watch, Netflix or whatever. Do not start a season of some television show on Netflix while you're studying for the exam, because you're just going to stop studying. You can do that. You can binge watch all 5 or 6 seasons of Breaking Bad after you take FAR. Or True Detective Season 2. I haven't watched the final episode yet, but I did go ahead and read what happened. But it's kind of bummed, but anyway. And everyone hates True Detective Season 2. I didn't think it was that bad. Tia says, thanks, Jeff. I'm taking auditing and currently reviewing by pounding out Ninja MCQs and recopying my notes. My average is 76, and trending is between 87 and 91. And so, for those of you who don't know, the average score in Ninja MCQ is cumulative, so it takes into account every question you've ever done since the beginning. So even the questions where you were just messing around, just clicking answers, or you didn't know anything, it takes it all into account. The trending score takes into account your more recent sessions, and it also takes the content specification outline weighting into account as well. And so it makes sense that the average is lower. So the average is 76, and the trending is between 87 and 91. Why do I not trust this? She says, does this bode well? For my real exam, it does. So, assuming that you're in the review phase, or in the adaptive, or in the adaptive learning phase, or in the review phase, that's pretty good. So 87 to 91, and you can always go on to the another71.com forum and click the trending versus actual scores, and so you can see what other people have done relative on the actual exam relative to their trending score. All right, everyone doing okay out there? See, the nice thing about having pre-written questions is that if there's crickets, I can just go on. Beverly says yes. Thank you, Beverly. All right, looks like we are good. Anyone have any upcoming exams? Okay, we got a question. I feel like towards the end if the content is sticking with the trending. Yep. I agree, and people's confidence level seems to be higher when they're trending higher, I guess for obvious reasons. But oftentimes what happens is that people go in and take an exam, so they're trending really high. They go in and take an exam, and they're doing really well, so they get their butt kicked with especially if you get to the review stage, they get their butt kicked on the actual exam, or it feels like they got their butt kicked because your test will start out as medium, and then if you do well, it ratchets up into difficult. And if you're getting difficult exams, it means that you're doing well. Should I keep having the MCQs pick the selections, or should I do the new questions? Until you get through all of the questions. I might go through all of the new questions first and then let it issue me the questions. And I'm also a big fan of doing, I guess, in your review stage, doing topic-specific questions. So, all right, so Kevin says, I'm preparing to take BEC. Is there a way that I can be notified of my score immediately when it's available, or do I need to constantly check the website? No, there is. You would think that something that had just computer graded written communication questions and just multiple choice questions you could get your score immediately like the GMAT, but this has been people have been questioning this for years. Why can't you get your scores right away? How do I incorporate Sims into studying? I seem to focus on questions all the time. I would do Sims here and there. Like I said earlier, I would do 90% multiple choice questions, 10% Sims. One little tip: always do the AICPA sample exam on aicpa.org. That way you know, and the big takeaway there is to know how to transfer the research component into your answer so that you're not messing around on exam day and wasting valuable time. So yeah, people have been lamenting having to wait to get their scores for years. That's just a rite of passage for the CPA exam, and definitely don't ever complain to a paper and pencil CPA, which means they took the paper and pencil exam like back in the day, because then they'll tell you war stories about how they had to sit in a cold hotel, like banquet room, excuse me, and with like 8,000 other people, and they want to take it May and November and had to wait 8 years to get their score back and blah, blah, blah. Of course, the answer to that is the exam today, while more friendly for your exam day experience, the exam today is test on a lot more knowledge, and there's a lot more pronouncements, and back then they didn't have IFRS and IT and all of that stuff. So, so how are we doing on Periscope? Are we good? Last call for questions on Periscope. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Okay, we do have one question coming in. I do appreciate you tuning in, and at least a few people humoring me with some questions that makes me feel less alone. Cumulative during studying and topic by topic at the review stage. Topic by topic during the review stage, cumulative while you're studying, yes. And yeah, well, I had an idea last time, like, why don't I, because for those of you who don't know, I did another Periscope yesterday, and it was just, it was okay. But I learned that you need backup content because on Periscope, people can't ask you questions vocally, so they have to type it in, and it's on their phone, and so it's kind of, so anyway, so you need backup content. So hey, I thought a podcast would work great for it. So, all right, everyone. Well, thank you for watching and listening. And if you haven't done so, please download my CPA exam survival guide. It is free. It is awesome, or as awesome as a CPA exam ebook can be. And thank you. And you can get it from another71.com. Go to another71.com in the right-hand sidebar. You'll see it. You can also download it from iTunes. It is the highest rated CPA exam related book on iTunes, probably because it's free. Thank you again to everyone on Periscope, and thank you everyone. And I recognize several names like Rutledge from the forum, and I appreciate you tuning in. Until next time, everyone, be good, take care, and I will talk to you soon. Oh yeah, go to if you want to be on the podcast, go to Another 71, ask Jeff, click in the upper right hand corner. And so until next time, talk to you later.